my name's Hayley King. I am the founder of Sienna's Smile charity. And for World Sickle Cell Awareness Day this year, we are having some inspirational speakers coming to join us for our World Sickle Cell Awareness Day webinar. And I would love to introduce you to our guest today. Please introduce yourself.
It's Chris Smitty. See, I was about to shout and give this huge, exciting introduction to myself, but you did great. No, my name is Chris Smith. Some people call me Chris Smitty because when I was young, I always wanted to be athletic. And when I went out there, I had older brothers. The coaches called them Smitty, and then I was just the last in line. So you can call me Chris.
Amazing. And so we're going to talk a little bit about sickle cell and how that affects you, but we're going to speak about a lot about what you do for a living, because we've been following your story maybe for like 3 years, and I find you so inspiring, and I just want people to be able to hear from you about the things that you're able to do, and give some advice and tips to people also.
Yes, thank you.
If people would like to find you on Instagram and other social medias, what's your accounts?
Yeah, so you can find me at Chris Smitty, that's with one S, _athletics, AAH_ATHLETIX.com. What am I talking about?
It's all right. So yeah,
Chris Smitty at athletics, and then also I do videography and photography, and you can find that as Chris Smitty _viddy, VIDDY as a video. So that's where you'll find me doing one or the other. And so as you talked about, seeing me over the years, I started off doing personal training and always being, in the process of recording myself and editing. I took that a little bit more seriously and started actually doing some videography as well. And so I'm an artist at heart. And so I express myself either in the gym, or I express myself, behind camera, or however I can. So.
Amazing. And you also have a platform based talking about sickle cell as well, don't you?
Yes. I'm so sorry. How could I forget? So it's called Sickle Cell, CELLTH, which is kind of like sickle cell and then sickle health. So my purpose behind that is encouraging people to take more initiative from yourself and doing whatever you can do, learning about your own health. As you mentioned before we started recording, knowing your limits and understanding what works for you, because it's going to be different from person to person, even though we might share the same disease or even the same genotype. We have to understand that it's always going to be specific to you, your lifestyle, and then just making that a little bit better. And so I like to leave tips and advice on those things. And I'm actually glad you mentioned that, because I'm going to gear that up even more and be more informative of what we can do to take care of ourselves at home.
Amazing. I will link everything on the platforms that we're using, so everyone can go and check out your website and social media and stuff as well, because you are epic. So I really want people to go and see for themselves that from this discussion exactly what we're talking about. So tell us a bit about yourself. Tell us, what was it like growing up having sickle cell? What type of sickle cell you have? Just let us get to know Chris a little bit.
Thank you. So I am always usually just focused on my health, and reason being, obviously, I have sickle cell disease, and my parents were aware of it when I was born. I have 3 older brothers, one of which has a trait, another has the disease as well. And we've always been in sports enthusiasts and athletically inclined. My dad was a Golden Gloves boxer when he was younger.
Wow.
And so that encouraged us to always be competitive. And then when you're in a house full of boys, what else are we going to do?
Natural competition.
Exactly. We're going to fight each other, and we're going to, and encourage that competitive nature. And so it got to a point in my life where things were really difficult when it came to sports and all the things that I wanted to do with my body. I couldn't because of sickle cell disease and all of the pitfalls and symptoms that come along with it. And so I had to have a conversation with myself one day. It was in my early 20s, and I decided, this is the one competition that I'm going to win. And that was overcoming those symptoms. Now, not to say that I'm cured or in any way, shape, or form alleviated from having sickle cell disease. I mean, it is right on my heels always, but if I can stay 1 or 2 steps ahead of it, then I think I'll be doing okay. And so
with like prevention of symptoms and managing stuff.
Absolutely,
really well.
yes, exactly. So I had to learn those things honestly, and I remember getting a gym membership at a local gym around the corner from where I lived, and I went in there not knowing anything about any of those things, honestly, because when I was young, like I said, I would go to the gym with the rest of the athletes in my class, and they were able to do some things that I wasn't, and I was always limited. And so I had to go in there with as much humility as I could, and understanding that, I'm going to try to figure this out. And I didn't know getting into fitness and doing those things was going to help me. And I did, and I still ran into some pitfalls going through that. Trial and error is tremendous. And, but it was something that taught me my limits, knowing what I could do versus what I wanted to do, and then finding that median to know, this is what is going to give me that satisfaction. And also not let me go to the hospital or not cause and trigger any symptoms that's going to hurt me. And so that's what got me into health. And then I knew so much about it, and friends would always ask me for advice. And I knew as much as some of these trainers did. I just didn't know it honestly. And so I had to go and get certified. And then I took it up as a profession. And I haven't looked back since. I enjoy it because not only do I help other warriors in our community, I help people who have an array of health issues and different issues that comes to our physical, that challenge us physically. And, from helping older women know how to carry groceries from their car to their, doorstep, or, to helping young people lose weight and get themselves into better shape. I've been able to be helpful to those people and train some of those people in those ways. And it's a lifestyle. And I tell people more than anything, it's not just a goal, because the goal, you might have a finish line. You have to understand the goal is to always do things to take care of your health as best you can. Now, I'm not saying you can't enjoy your life.
And just eat lettuce for the rest of your life.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to balance those things out. But when you do, it can come out and be a great benefit to one's health. And as we're always growing and changing, we have to adapt. And that's one of the things that I've always been aware of. And I always try to encourage people is to know that you're constantly changing. We're not human beings, we're human becomings.
Yes, so I like that.
We have to know that, where we were 5-10 years ago is not going to be the same state. There's going to be a little bit more mileage on, a little more wear and tear. So we have to adapt, but also be in the mind state that, we believe and have faith in what we're capable of. And we just have to take those steps and learn as we go along, listen to our bodies, listen to the wisdom that's around us, and apply it as best we can.
Yeah, definitely. So you were saying you've always been interested in sport.
Absolutely.
Was it your goal to have a career based around fitness, or was it something that you just fell into, or how did it come around?
More of the latter. So I didn't want to necessarily become a professional athlete. I was just always interested in those things. I was an enthusiast. And so those are things, we can go to another subject of music. And I'm the same way. I'm very passionate about music and different sounds, things like that. And so in my heart, I'm an artist. And so the expression, the creativity that goes around these things was always interested in to me. And so I wanted to participate. I don't like being a spectator as much as I can be a participant. I've even had friends, and they'll tell me, man, you should learn golf. And I'm like, no, golf is too slow. When I can, if I can outrun you, I'm going to show you, or, we can do something a little bit more, artistically expressive with our bodies, then let's do that. And so that was a part that interested me. more than anything. And so I really didn't know, just like most young people, what I wanted to do, but it was something that came to me honestly. And people in my corner, in my circle, were telling me, man, you know a lot about this. You should step it up. You should do something with it. And I never regret taking that advice.
Good. And here we are listening to your amazing advice.
Thank you.
And so when it comes to sickle cell, obviously you're doing a job that is very physical. What is your experience with doing general exercise for yourself, but also when you're training clients? How does sickle cell impact that? Do you have to kind of take it easy, or how do you go about it?
Yes, a little bit of everything. And so every day is different. Sometimes I can write a program. I've even written programs for myself. That's how I did it before I became a professional trainer, is learning what I can or can't do. And there would be, I would sit down on a Sunday night and say, all right, Monday, I'm going to do this. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Monday, okay, good. Check those boxes. Tuesday, check those boxes. Wednesday, my body's like, no, sit down.
No more. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you need to rest. You need to relax. And so I've had to listen to myself. And so that's also a part of my message to people, is that they have to listen to their bodies. They have to know what their body is telling them, so that we don't burn out and cause ourselves more harm in the process of trying to overcome and do great things. Same thing when it comes to academia or any other profession, is you can burn yourself out if you don't balance things the right way. So learning how to balance and manage my body, despite what my ego wants me to do, is really key. Because, like just being a young man in general, and being, physically capable of certain things, you want to explore those things. At least I did. Until it told me that maybe you should chill out on exploring too much, but find something that you can actually do. And then, now I play amateur men's soccer. We're hella competitive here in Houston.
Wow.
One of the best teams in Houston, and I've been playing with them for 8 years. I've had some pitfalls in that process as well, but I've been grateful to be around people, even, on my team, who understand my situation, and they know when I'm out there, I'm giving it everything that I have, even if it only lasts 15 or 25 minutes.
Wow.
I'm gonna give everything I can. There have been times where, when I was much younger, I could play a whole, 90 minutes, no problem. I hydrated, I ate well, I slept well the night before. I did all of the things that I was supposed to do leading up to that, so that I was capable. And that's the same thing I teach people. You prepare yourself the right way. You get it in your mind that you are preparing yourself, and believe in what you can do, and just go forward. And so that's been a huge part of my inspiration, and taking those same principles, what I do to take care of myself with the hydration, eating right, resting, breath therapy.
Definitely.
All those things translate, and it covers a multitude of health issues for people with and without sickle cell disease.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think there was an age where you started to listen to your body more? When you were younger, did you just kind of keep going full force to keep up with others, or were you really aware that if you do this, it's going to affect your body and it could lead to a crisis? What age were you, do you think, when you started to know your triggers, know your body?
That was when I was really young. It was probably junior high level, because of course that's when, voices got a little deeper. And
we don't have junior high here. So what age is that?
So intermediate. So that was around 11 to 14.
Yeah.
And so it was around that time when I noticed, I was even growing and changing in so many different ways. And it started to click to me that, if I run too much without hydrating, I'm going to end up in a crisis. I'm going to end up with so many symptoms that it's going to wipe out my next week or few weeks, depending on how I could get over it. So I had to learn that at a younger age. And then that was tough, because when you go into an athletic program with your school, they set a standard and they expect everyone to meet that standard. And if you can't, then you're just not going to be able to compete. So I had to learn that I might not be able to meet that standard, but I always loved training. I always loved the attempt and the aspiration of those things. I was always a believer in those things. And so I had to listen to my body, as well as look at what the standard was, and figure out how can I meet that if I can. And I never believed that I couldn't. I just knew that my way was going to be a little bit different. So it's around that age, 11 to 14, where I really started realizing those triggers. Now, I didn't actually change.
Yeah, this is a good point.
That advice until I got much older. Like I said, I was in my 20s before I actually started taking that advice and knowing, hey, don't go too hard. Prepare yourself, know your limits, take your time, do what you can. But, also that mental thing, that ego wants to come in and say, come on, you can do it. And I follow that right into a hospital verdict, But at the same time, it taught me that, sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. And, and it's hard because as a trainer, people expect us to always push you, to always tell you to go, go, go. And I'm one of those guys that'll tell you, listen, if your body says no, you better listen, because it's going to affect at you later if you don't. So
definitely. So when you're training people, do you take part in that, or is it a mixture of some of it you do, some of it you don't? How does it work with clients?
As far as me participating with them, some guys, like my brothers, I still train with them. They are, monsters of athletes. They're all, they had all of the genetics. I had to really try hard.
Which age are you the youngest?
So I'm I'm 35. The next oldest is 3 years older than me. And then the next oldest 1 year older than him. And then my oldest brother, he is 46 right now. He's 11 years older than me. And so they've always been gladiators of athletes. And so me being the youngest, I'm thinking there's nothing you can do that I can't do.
Yeah.
And I truly didn't know how small I was until I got to about 17 or 18. And I just, in my mind, I was a lion too. It's like that little meme of the cat looking in the mirror and then the reflection of the lion, but it's really just a little cat. That was me. And so, no one could tell me anything. I felt like I could run through a brick wall. And so.
Yeah, you're like, bring it on. I could do what they can do.
Yeah, and so I went through those pitfalls, but I participate with clients as much as I can. There's some days when, I'm watching and I'm making sure that I'm giving them the attention and I'm not participating with them. We usually establish that before a training session. I usually ask them. I've been training a new client for the past 2.5 months. Every other day. And I asked him just last week if I could train with him. And he said, yeah, why would you ask? And I'm saying, well, because I'm here to watch you, make sure you don't collapse and you do things, appropriately. But I try to. And then some days it's just, I can't. And if I can't, then I just won't. And I'll know that hopefully tomorrow will be a better day. Get your rest, eat well, hydrate, and then we'll see what happens tomorrow. And I'm at an age now at 35 where I don't care if I can't. I really don't. I try to, but I really don't care if I can't, because I know as I get older, it's just going to become increasingly difficult. And it's also going to take me longer to recover. Training with my brothers, they're telling me that this is what they're going through in their late 30s and 40s. And so I know that that's what's going to come. And I even have trainer friends who are in their 50s and 60s, and they tell me less is best.
Slow down now.
Exactly.
No, I agree. And I think that goes for anything in life. I keep saying this to my mum. I'm not going to disclose her age. However, she works like 6 days a week, 7 days a week sometimes. She's a makeup artist, and she's getting up at like 3 a.m. to do photo shoots and stuff. And I said to her, you need to start thinking about slowing down. And she was just like, how dare you? But I just said, like, your body needs that rest time. Your body needs to recharge and recoup and things like that. And I think recognizing that, even if you don't start straight away, just having, being aware of it. So in the future,
absolutely.
Start to.
If I can add to that, that's huge. Yeah, if I'm sorry for interrupting. If I can add to that, that's huge, because even knowing how to rest, some people would think I just need more sleep, or I just need, like, there's a formula that goes into resting and recovery that I try to teach as well, because not everyone recharges the same.
Yeah.
Everyone has a different process. Some people need more time. Some people can do fine with less time, but knowing what works for you is the key.
And what tips would you give people on how to rest properly?
Sure. So I think there's a general idea that, of course, unplugging and removing yourself from things that are stimulating our minds in certain ways. I'm not even going to get into that aspect of it because that's a different subject for a different time and day, how we're overstimulated as a society, especially this day and age with technology and all these things. But being able to step back from those things, being able to get quality sleep, knowing how to get quality sleep. It's not just taking melatonin, it's actually, doing things, exerting so much energy throughout the day so your body can be tired and then going to rest. And so I would say start off with making sure you get quality sleep. It's not necessarily quantity. Some people think, 8 hours is the standard. Well, not necessarily. There have been weeks where I would go and I can get 4-6 hours of sleep, but it's good quality sleep.
Yeah.
It's unbothered that I don't move and roll over. I'm sleeping at REM sleep, if you would, and then I get up and then I go about my day almost, feeling like I'm fully well rested, fully recharged. So you have to listen to your body and know what you're going through at the time to be able to do that. I'm a huge advocate of power naps, and 20 minutes sometimes of closing your eyes or listening to some meditation music or some sounds that can calm you and relax you can be helpful. Reading, it just depends on you. It depends on what you do when you relax. How do you feel thereafter? Do you feel energized? Do you feel vibrant? Or do you feel like you probably need to do more of it? And then knowing what that is and just doing it.
So it's just getting people to explore different ways of how they can rest, because I certainly, maybe only in the last 2 years, have discovered like what I need to feel recharged, ways to feel relaxed. I have never been a good sleeper. I get really bad insomnia sometimes, and I think maybe even in the last 3 or 4 months I've slowly discovered exactly what it is and what I need to do. And I am a massive advocate for breathing exercises. They definitely, when I wake up during the night, I constantly just try and do breathing and calm myself down. And also emptying my head is such a helpful thing. So a lot of the time, everything I need to do, I write down before I go to bed, because otherwise I'm like, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do this. So those things are really helpful. But I'm sure we can discuss those kind of tips and stuff during another interview.
So we're doing this again. We're doing this
of
again?
Course. Now that you've agreed, I'm sorry, but this is going to be like a weekly thing. No,
Nice, good. I passed.
Yeah.
See that, people? I passed. That's everything that you're saying is very, very relevant, and I do the same thing. If I have too much going on in my mind, sometimes I count down from 100 and I take deep breaths. Inhale, 99, 98, 97, and then my mind focusing on those numbers, I'll be asleep by the time I get to the 60s or somewhere. But also it just keeps me from it blocks out all of that other junk that I want to get in my head, because I'm the same way. I like to write things down because it helps me remember. I set alerts and reminders when I am punctual. If I'm not, then it's because I didn't set myself the reminder, and then now I'm in a funk, and then now I'm trying to recover and things, and I try to alleviate that as best as I can. So I can relate, and I think also being a good mom, you probably would be a good sleeper. So
it's for me, I think as well, is over, I don't know, probably even since having Sienna, I'm always concerned that I need to be alert whilst I'm sleeping. So I'm always anxious that what if something happens? What if this? What if that? And that is what leads to insomnia. So I really try not to get my head too full. So we were talking a bit about high school, which is like early years of secondary school here. And How did you have friends that knew that you had sickle cell? Were they particularly supportive towards, when you were off sick or when you're in hospital? And what advice would you give to young children, teenagers, young adults that have a friend with sickle cell? What do you wish your friends had done for you to help your time at school?
Yes, well, Haley, all of your questions have been fantastic, and this is another good one. The reason being is because I had a very close circle of friends who were aware of my situation. I didn't parade it, but it was hard to hide when I was out of school for a few weeks at a time or a month or something like that. It was hard to ignore those, especially when teachers would have to send me work and I would have friends who would either deliver it to me or somehow be aware of what's going on with me. And so they've always been supportive, thankfully. Now, it doesn't come without its judgment, doesn't come without its misconceptions, doesn't come without having to re-explain things to people from time to time. But nonetheless, it helped when I could look around me and I know that my friends were supportive. Now, everyone supports differently. So not everyone is going to send you a card or visit you while you're ill. Especially if it becomes a recurring thing, because between 14 and 18 for me were some of the hardest years of my life. And I also went through some stints of depression, and I didn't realize it until I reflected on it later on in life. And it affected everything that I did. But thankfully, my friends were patient enough to understand that there was something I was going through that necessarily didn't, it's no excuse per se, but it is, a valid reason why things aren't going smoothly for me in my life. And they were patient enough with me to understand that. And they knew that I was only going to be open and transparent with them if they had a genuine curiosity for those things. And so if I could tell any young carrier what to do with those things, is just make sure that your friends understand how sincere you are about these things, how seriously it can affect you. And, without necessarily sensationalizing or being over dramatic. As I said, I didn't want to parade it and make it seem like it's a mess, because it's life or death for a lot of us. But I also wanted to treat it with the respect that they knew I was doing the best I can with it. And they knew that I wasn't going to necessarily rely on either their support or any medical facility to help me, that they knew that I wanted to overcome this. And that was a huge part. So whatever fortitude you may have, you have to present that in your own life for yourself, so that you know that you're working towards a solution. And when people see that, people tend to respect you and give you that nod, a tip of the cap of you at least making an attempt to do something about it.
Yeah, I think it's really important that this is completely off subject, but there's a book called the Languages of Love, I think it is, and it's about the 5 love languages. And it's important to understand how you feel loved and how you give love. And it's the same with empathy and support. It's important to understand how people feel supported and the support that they want to receive. So for me, it's so ironic, because I had this same conversation with somebody the other day, that you touched base a little bit earlier, that once you've been to hospital a few times, people get used to it and they think, you're used to it, they're not going to bother visiting this time with balloons and stuff, because they did that last time and it was only a couple of months ago, kind of thing. But actually for me, it is really nice that Sienna gets visitors, and I do feel disappointed sometimes in friends and family, because hospital visits are never easy. It doesn't matter if you have to go every day, it's never a nice experience. And so just talking about, like being supportive, like how can friends be supportive? What do we want from them? As a parent of a child with a health condition, and a child with a health condition, or an adult with a health condition, like how do we want to see that support? I mean, for you, like when it comes to friends and family, how do you want to see their support? What does it look like for you?
For me, then that's another great, another great question, seriously, because we sometimes have the expectation that people are supposed to show up with flowers and balloons and, hey, this is what happened when people get sick. You see it in cartoons, you see it on TV shows, and sometimes it's not the reality. And so,
definitely.
And then everyone has their own situation that they're going through. And, as you said, the hospital is not fun land. And so going there, especially during this time, especially during, COVID, it's increasingly difficult. And so to me, sometimes just talking with the person is huge. And then I think sometimes too, if you want support in a certain way, sometimes if someone's close enough with you, you can share that with them and say, listen, this would help me tremendously if I could talk with you and share with you some of my experiences a little bit. Would you be willing to listen? Would you, be willing? And then, if they don't, then you just understand that maybe there's someone else. But as you had that conversation with someone, I had a conversation recently on the same subject. And it was, to me, I think we need a community, even if it's another person who has sickle cell disease. We need to share with each other our experiences. And I see that all the time. People say, hey, I've just been admitted and this is what I'm going through. And I always like or comment or DM and just say, hey, stay strong, and if there's something we can do to help you, let me know, because if I can't, I'll let you know. But if I can, I certainly will. And
like it is like you said, you don't necessarily want balloons and cuddly toys and everything, even kids. I think for me is just showing that you care. So I can't necessarily always message people or call them back or whatever, but just those people that, drop me a text and say, I've seen Sienna's in hospital, how is she? Or saying, can I come and sit with Sienna for an hour so you can go take a shower or get something to eat, because food at the hospital is my worst enemy. Like, Sienna, do you guys have Deliveroo or like Uber Eats type thing in the States?
We do, yeah. And so someone would have to go, and that's actually a new phenomena. Like when I was going to the hospital more frequently, I wish we had something like that, because, I could have a nurse or a security guard go down and grab my food for me or something. Hey, I'll give you a few French fries if you just
bribe them. See, exactly. I know, like, the hospital food is disgusting. Unfortunately, that's just the reality of it. So when you're not feeling great.
So let me add to that hospital food thing. So when I went to the hospital, one of the things that helped me, and I didn't learn this and apply it until I was maybe 16, I would gorge food. And that's actually when I actually started eating, because I was, 110 pounds with quarters in my pockets when I was 16. And I was always a lightweight. And so I always had to, from that age, that's when I actually started eating more. And so what I would do in the hospital, that would be my first form of medicine. I didn't care how nasty the food was. If it was, vegetables and some type of protein combination, that was good enough for me. And I remember ordering as much food as I could, because that actually helped give me energy and my metabolism to assist all of the other things that the facility was doing for me to help me recover. And I noticed a tremendous change in my recovery when I ate that nasty hospital food.
So Sienna has cottoned on to this, because she now knows that, because she's on so many drugs as well, that I want her to eat to make sure her stomach's lined. And also food is so important for recovery.
Absolutely.
So she knows that I'll pop down to the shop and get her something different, just so I know that she'll eat, or I'll order from Uber Eats because it's something that she wants. So now she's, she's clever, because she's like, well, mum wants me to eat, so I'm going to get the decent food.
Very wise.
Yeah, so we touched on nutrition, and it's definitely something I've always been very conscious about the food I eat, the quality of the food that I eat. And so with the children, processed foods and stuff, like I know if Sienna eats processed stuff, she's going to feel really, really rough. And we're really, and I wish that there was more information out there And in fact, at the moment, we are developing a nutritional guide and recipe book for people with sickle cell, because people really undervalue the impact that nutrition and health and healthy diet has on managing the symptoms of sickle cell. Like we were discussing earlier, it's not a cure, but it certainly has made such a huge difference. Sienna's not been admitted for nearly 18 months. And so we're really, it's amazing, because she was in hospital every 2 months, at least, over a 6-year period. So for us, that has been a huge milestone. And it's just, you know, it does, when it comes to children with sickle cell, it takes time to learn their triggers and see the alarm bells and things like that. And for them also taking a little bit more responsibility as they get older, they are more responsible for the actions they take and stuff like that. So it definitely does get easier, but I really wish that healthcare professionals made people aware of how important nutrition. And when it comes to exercise, you know, people think they're going to have to be doing like 1,000-meter sprints and stuff like that, but exercise can be anything. It can be yoga, it can be Pilates, it can be a gentle walk. It doesn't have to be, you know, full on muscle men in the gym, you know, pumping iron or whatever. I don't even know if people say that anymore.
They do. We do. Yeah. I believe it, we do. But yes, that's all good stuff. Yeah, that's all tremendous, because it isn't that. And I have clients who have sickle cell disease, and we'll go through a workout, and I'll say, try these things. When you get to a point where you feel like you're at your limit or you need to catch your breath, take all the time you need to catch your breath, because in a gym setting, CrossFit, or whatever you might be doing, usually there's a limited window of time for you to rest and then get ready for the next set. Whereas I've had to know for myself, sometimes that helps me when I take 3 whole minutes in between a set, or 5 minutes if I need it. And that helps other people too. And so the message goes around. And the thing about fitness and those things is we're still learning. And there's several professionals that I follow and communicate with on a daily basis about the things that we're still learning. The way Arnold Schwarzenegger and, you know, Ron Coleman did it back in the day is completely different than what we're doing today. Some of the same principles apply, but what we're learning is our bodies are very unique as our fingerprints, as I like to say. We all have our own way, our own formula that's going to work for us. We have to listen. And it's tremendous that Sienna has a mom like you who's so attentive and inclusive in what's happening with her situation, because my mom was the same way. She was a huge support system of my dad as well. My brothers, they've always been support. Now, my brothers, they've more so been of the ilk of, you know what, are you really hurt? You can walk if you can. So that kind of also was embedded in my mind, that I have to do more for myself. And then, like you said, learning what works for you is the only way.
Yeah, definitely. So we're coming to the end of our discussion. Is there any tips that you could give people that have really helped you on being at the point that you are at? And we were saying earlier, you know, you haven't been admitted to hospital either for over a year. What kind of things day to day do you put into your routine that kind of help you with managing sickle cell?
Yeah, very simple. So I'm going to go through a timeline. First thing you got to do in the morning is drink something hot. Drink something, if it's tea, if it's hot coffee, whatever it is, drink it hot, because it's going to open up your respiratory glands. It's going to increase and improve your blood flow. And then, of course, it's also a form of hydration. That's the first thing we should do every day. From there, I practice fasting. I usually abstain from eating 14, 16 hours a day. And that lets my body recover itself. It's very scientific. However, it could be different for other people. So you would have to check with a physician and go through those things one step at a time to see if it works for you. But that's just something that I do, and I've learned over the years that helps me. Another thing is, when I eat bad too. I mean, and sometimes on my Instagram stories, you might see me, you know, show some, what is it? I was eating the other day, like buffalo chicken waffles with mac and cheese. And
Oh, wow, it does sound good though.
it did. It was a taco truck we ate off of, and it was delicious. And I shared that too because I want people to understand that it's not all healthy. I'm not 100% about that. I would lose my mind if I tried to only eat broccoli and peanuts every day. I couldn't do it. And so I have to just stick with what works for me. And so my meals are usually having a vegetable, having a good lean protein, not too many additives or fats or sodium and sugar, keeping all of that stuff reduced. I'm drinking and hydrating throughout the day. And then that's a part of me being athletic, is because I'm not going to have a good training session. I'm not even going to be able to train and do things I want to do if I don't do the prep work beforehand. And so that helps me think ahead and stay ahead of what I'm expecting. So if I know I'm traveling somewhere, for instance, I had a friend who had a wedding in Denver, Colorado, which here in the States is very high altitude compared to Houston. We're below sea level. So it's humid down here, you know, and it's hot. And when I flew up there, the oxygen was very limited. I had a massive headache the first day I was there. The second day, I didn't even know if I was going to be able to stand in this wedding because I was going through all of those sickle cell symptoms. So what I did was started hydrating and getting myself back on a regimen that helped me, eating good foods. And then, as you say, exercising doesn't have to be lifting weights or anything extreme. It can be as simple as walking over an extended period of time, or being on your feet nonetheless, and breathing exercises. That is key. I tell you what, if I never lift another weight in my life, if I never shoot another jumper or kick another free kick, whatever, I will always do breathing exercises. I will always practice yoga, because those things help me become in tune with my body. They've taught me how to even meditate better and be more attentive and inclusive with myself. And breathing exercises have helped me manage stress more than anything. Stress is that silent killer. It is the silent killer. And sometimes we tolerate stress because we can function, because we can go and work and do all the wonderful things we do. We think that we can manage the stress well. And no, that's not the case. Sometimes we need to be without stress, you know, and finding ways to do that through breathing exercises. I try Wim Hof methods online. I'm not sure if people are familiar with him, but he was just a guy, and he went through some traumatic experiences in his life. And
I think I've heard of him. Is he the guy that does the ice water?
Yeah, they call him the ice water.
I think everybody knows about him. Yeah,
that's right. But it's tremendous. And one of the things I take away from him in all of what he does, being able to be submerged in ice water for 2 hours without his body temperature dropping, is because he's breathing and he's in a state of meditation while he's doing that. And that can be trained. And that was one of the things that science tried to disprove him of, in which he wound up proving anyone can do this. Not everyone's going to be able to do it at the same level or tempo, but everyone can do it if they start practicing. And so throughout the day, I find time to practice box breathing or diaphragmatic breathing, and taking that time, if it's 5 minutes, it's 10 minutes, whatever you have, it's tremendous. It goes a long way for you. And then making sure at some point throughout the day, you unplug, clock out, and rest. You let your mind rest, you let your body rest, you do something that's enjoyable for however long you can. And that's usually what I go through day to day. And so I think that could help.
Yeah, and for me personally, I went on a journey I fractured my pelvis in 2 places, and I was on a lot of pain relief. I struggled to work. I couldn't lift anything. I couldn't sit down. Just everything hurt. And so I went on this journey with over a year with physio and all this other stuff. And then my physio said, look, try exercise. And I was like, no, I don't want to. It's going to hurt me. I don't want to do anything. I just want to sit and be still so I don't get pain. And then I thought, you know what? My friend was like, come to yoga. It was called body conditioning. So it's a mix of Pilates, yoga, all kinds of different stuff. And I went, and the first time I tried, it was quite bad. I did end up in pain, but I was really determined to change my life and get started. This is when I discovered how important breathing was. And it was the first time, I think we did maybe 5 minutes at the beginning of the class, and then 10 minutes breathing and relaxation at the end. And I remember just thinking like, oh my gosh, is this what stress-free feels like?
Right.
I was not familiar with that feeling of just complete freeness. It was really strange. But yeah, so doing those gentle exercises actually really, really helped me. And if it wasn't for those classes, I probably would still be in pain, would still be struggling. But I definitely adapted that and brought that into my day-to-day life, doing the breathing exercises. Even like you said, during the day when I'm starting to feel like, oh, everything's getting a bit too much, I just take, even if it's 30 seconds, just to be silent and take some deep breaths, and then you can carry on, because stress and anxiety are massive. They have a huge impact on people's health and well-being. But I like to talk a lot, so I'm going I'm going to ask you one last question.
Yeah, please.
And this is, if you had a bucket list, what one thing would be at the top of it?
Oh my goodness. You know, and this is going to be my superhero answer, and that would be to find a cure for sickle cell disease, which I believe we can do it. I don't know why it hasn't been done. I can speculate, and that's a whole nother conversation we can have in the medical industry and those things, especially when it comes to different ethnicities and the way that things are being handled and treated around the world. I would say that is foremost the one thing that I would want to see, because, you know, your daughter and then, you know, people that I know of who are suffering this every day, if we could be relieved of that, we could certainly be so much more for our communities. And there's nothing more important than that. I'm one of those people, whereas I'm not just going to be your neighbor. You know, I'm going to be someone that you can rely on for help. I want to be someone who is going to step up when I have to, and I want to be capable. You know, I have 2 women I have to look after, my wife and our daughter, and I would be remiss and beyond if I couldn't, you know, protect them or feel like I was capable of doing something for them. But nonetheless, if I didn't have this disease, then, you know, I would certainly feel more confident and certainly would have explored, you know, maybe even becoming a professional athlete in something at some point in time. Or if not, you know, being, you know, somewhere where I am right now. But that's a long answer, but
but
that's what I would do. I
think I think everybody would agree with that. And I do feel like there's been a lot of new treatments developed in the last few years. So I have hope and I have faith that we are on the right path now in helping people and having something that's widely available, because this is the problem. So having something, that can definitely, and just continuing to educate and support each other, as the majority of us do. But if you just want to quickly, if people want to contact you, whether it's to do fitness or whether they're getting creative with photography, or just to talk to you because you're an awesome person, which you are. Tell us what your Instagram account is.
Okay, so I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on YouTube, and I'm on Facebook. So on Instagram, it is Chris Smitty with 1 S, CHRISMITTY _AAH _athletics with an X. And then also I do videography, Chris Smitty Viddy, Chris Smitty _Viddy is on Instagram. And then on Facebook, Chris Smitty or Chris Smitty Athletics. Twitter, same thing. YouTube, same thing. So I'm building a platform. I want to be able to have these kinds of conversations that you're having. So you just set a great standard that I'm going to have to try to live up to.
Thanks.
This was a good conversation. I appreciate you inviting me. And if anyone wants to get in touch with me, you can even send me an email. Actually, my email is aah.athletics@gmail.com. If you have any questions, people hit me up all the time, and I do my best to get back with them as quickly as I can over these things and an array of health things, because it is the most important thing in life, health, because it undergirds everything else. We don't have health mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, then everything else is going to be limited. And we're not limited people, we're limitless, and we have to believe in what we're capable of. So if anybody wants to talk with me or, you know, whatever, I'm always available.
Wow, what a line to finish on. We are limitless. Absolutely, 100%. Chris,
Yes.
I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation with you. You are so inspiring to so many people, and I am grateful that even my child, you know, that they have somebody like you to look up to that can encourage them, that sickle cell doesn't define them and they can do anything that they put their mind to.
Absolutely.
So I am going to say goodbye and thank you so much for today. I know this will be impactful on so many people and really help them to move forward and just know that fitness is not a no-no as long as you know your limits, you know your triggers, and we will definitely be hearing from you again soon and would love to have you on again.
Yes, I can't wait to see the final cut and to see all of the amazing things that you're doing. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.